talk about boots today. A couple different boots up here. See these ones here. We'll start with this pair of Asolos. This is an excellent boot. Excuse me, the mosquitoes are just up today already. Okay, this is an excellent boot. It's a rigid, sturdy boot. It has a ankle support, not as high as I would like to see. I like a little bit higher ankle support just for going through rough conditions, but it's adequate. I had no problems. Like I said, a rigid, sturdy boot that has a very stiff toe, which I think is a very important thing to look for in a boot. Out here in the Cascades, going anywhere, you're going to run into snow, and it's usually right across the trail or right across the place you have to go, and being able to toe kick into the snow to work your way across a snowfield on a steep grade is something that you end up doing all the time. And if you have very soft-toed boots, doing it hundreds and hundreds of times a day really does a number on your feet. So if you're going to be doing any serious hiking, it's one of the things that I look for in a boot is a very rigid, sturdy toe that you can kick in again and again. And having that sturdiness in the toe also means having it being a little inflexible in here. Like I said, it's an extremely rigid boot. It is the most expensive pair of boots I ever purchased, but $230 something on sale. Maybe my next REI dividend or something will go to another pair of these, but not as high as I would like. But extremely sturdy, durable boot, and as you can see, it has been used and abused. Tread is almost worn down now, but these Asolos, an excellent boot. The max that I have found in its rigidness, that was very comfortable to walk in. I liked them. They were a good purchase. The next one here that I've got are Danners, and this is a Danner pronghorn, and I used the heck out of these. They did eventually blow out here in the heel, but that was after tons of use and abuse in terrible conditions, and the tread was probably worn off before that, but that's because I take it on the asphalt ultimately once I retire them from hiking boots. The thing about that is, the asphalt tears up your hiking boots. If you can avoid walking on asphalt or concrete with your hiking boots, you'll make them live a lot longer. If you can afford to donate a pair of boots to be exclusively hiking boots and keep with your pack, that's awesome. Me, I can't really do that. They always end up being my work boot, and but that way I get a real good test on them and see how they do in the long run. This boot did hold up very well. It's extremely comfortable. It's very lightweight. The Asolos are heavy, but this one is much lighter. It doesn't have the same rigidness. It's still pretty sturdy. Has a pretty hard toe. It was fine for kicking in. But it has the very high ankle support. It comes well above the ankle, and my ankle is, I can see the bulge for the ankle down here, and it's so much more sturdy when you put your foot through an opening or a gap in the rocks, or punch through ice and into a riverbed, that you've got that sturdy ankle support for those crazy situations where your foot bends in some weird little rocky gap, that you don't get that sprained ankle that finishes you off or puts you in a bad position. It's something that I think is important in a wilderness boot. I know that a lot of people have the Asolo type or much shorter with the much more limited ankle support, so that it's flexible, and they'll say, oh, it's got ankle support because it has these two little wings on the side. It's not as much as I would like in an extreme situation. when you really need it, you know, not as much as I would like. I'm also going to show you the boots I'm wearing right now, and they're a pair of Merrells. They have that same sort of light. My ankles are right here. It's not the support where I want them up here. It doesn't have that, but they are a nice lightweight hiking boot. It does have something that I did find advantageous, and it's rubber all the way up. The toe, this section of the toe, all the way along the side here is all rubberized. Now, I think it may not last. I think it might eventually blow out here. I think it's going to be a weakness, but the advantage of it is fantastic. When you're walking through wet grass or just your average treading about, that rubber height, that area just around the edge of the boot is what gets wet all the time. All right in here always gets wet, and the water gets through these seams in here. Over a long term of abuse, this area is constantly wet. So if it is rubberized, then it's not going to seep through, as long as the rubber holds up. But these haven't gone yet, but I think that is a nice feature. If you have that rubber all the way along the side like that, all that wraps up over the toe where that gets wet continuously, I think that's a fine feature to a boot. That's something I would add to my boots, is that rubberized coating right around the edge where they're wet all the time. I think that's a fine thing to add. The Merrells do not have a very hard toe. I would not want to take them out and be kicking in the snow all day. So you're going to have that leather behind it, and just a little bit more rubber or rubber coating perhaps on the outside. I think would be fantastic. The other boot, the shoe that I take with me all the time, is something that is not talked about very much, and that is just a pair of Aqua socks. They are inexpensive, they are lightweight, they're flexible, and they work fantastically well on the condition you need them for, which is crossing rivers. That's what I use them for. And if you're walking across a slimy, mud-covered rock riverbed that you're crossing with your Aqua socks on, you have a very, very good chance of not having a problem at all. They have tremendous grip in those conditions. And what I do in my system is when I want to cross, I take off my boots and I put on my Aqua socks, go across the river, and I put my boots back on when I do my hiking, or hike for a while in just my Aqua socks until my Aqua socks have dried and my feet have dried out a little bit, and then I'll put my boots back on. But that's just what I do, and so I use the Aqua socks for that. Once I get to camp, I pad around camp in my Aqua socks. They're like modern day moccasins, very comfortable, and for backpacking purposes, they're extremely lightweight. I often put them on the bottom of my pack. That's where I store them, so that I have a rubberized bottom on my pack now, with the shoes down there, so I can set it down and not worry about it getting wet. But at any rate, for backup shoes, I prefer them to open-toed sandals. I know that I've used several pairs of the sandals, and my problem with the sandals is once the material gets wet, it seems to slack and have extra give, and my foot slides around between the shoe and my foot. There's give there, and that tends to make my foot roll when I'm walking, or when I'm trying to go uphill or dealing with slippery situations, and I put any pressure on it, the sandal just kind of slides out from underneath my foot a little bit no matter what I do. That's just me and the situation I have with the open-toed sandals, not to mention that rocks and debris get into the foot, and you have to into your foot and into the sandal, and you got to knock it out. That does not happen with Aqua socks. That's an advantage. And so I'm just not very comfortable in those open-toed sandals. I know everybody loves them, and it does allow your feet to breathe really well, but the thing you can do to help that is that you can add a pair of wool socks to the Aqua socks. You just put on a pair of wool socks, and it really increases how fast your feet dry out and how well they breathe. You'll notice a difference in that, not to mention a comfort difference. They're very comfortable once you have a pair of wool socks on them, in a wide range of temperatures. Though that's my preference. Out here in the Pacific Northwest, with all the river crossings, I don't want my boots wet. I like to switch into my Aqua socks. Once I get to camp, I pad around in these and I love them. They're inexpensive, lightweight, and they're dependable. They work really well on conditions that most boots are not made for crossing rivers. And I think that's my personal preference. Like I said, I don't like the open-toed sandals, and I prefer these. So check out a pair of Aqua socks. They're inexpensive. You can take them out and try them, and you know, if you lose them or they don't work for you, big deal. You know, you didn't spend much on them, but I think you'll find they're just like slippers in the woods. They're fantastic to have. So as a little talk about footwear with the Outsider, just to recap, lots of ankle support, lightweight with the pronghorns by Danners, from Danner. We got a Solo with the super rigidness that made it very comfortable to walk on the trail. The hard toe for kicking into snow. And I have the rubberized Advantage of the Merrells. That was a huge addition. That was their bonus. And Aqua socks for your rivers and padding around camp. Yeah. Okay, footwear with the Outsider. Stay safe in the woods.